pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets of red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
You can all be seated now. On behalf of Tuesday, he'd like to thank you all for joining us today for the celebration of the life of his best friend, Luis Carlos Montalvan. I'd like to invite our Dean for the College of Health Professions and the Leanhart School of Nursing to greet you and to bring a welcome from the college and the university.
Thank you so much. Since, as you heard, I'm also Dean of Nursing, I am a nurse. And are there other nurses in the audience? Well, happy Nurses Week. Welcome, everybody, on behalf of PACE and the College of Health Professions and our ECAD partners to Tuesday's celebration of life of his best friend, Luis Carlos Montalvan. As many of you know, the College of Health Professions recently launched our first college curriculum on service and therapy dogs in healthcare, which was inspired by Luis and his service dog, Tuesday. PACE faculty members Dr. Joanne Singleton and Dr. Lucille Ferrara joined forces with Luis and Tuesday and Lou Picard, co-founder and director of programs for ECAD, to develop the curriculum, first and only one in the country, to educate future healthcare professionals, including nurses, nurse practitioners, and physician assistants about the care of patients with disabilities who are teamed with or may benefit from being teamed with a service dog, or who may benefit from participation in a wide range of animal-assisted therapies. Sadly and unexpectedly, Luis left us before the launch. I was not fortunate enough to have met him, but his legacy is enduring. Can we please, right now, have a moment of silence for Luis? This curriculum, as you heard, serves as a model for other universities and healthcare professionals and will help to bring awareness and knowledge of our patients to serve them at the point of care through Luis's work and advocacy that will live on forever. Thank you all for coming, and I'd like to turn this back over to Dr. Joanne Singleton.
Thanks, Dean Feldman. So like all of you, I'm afloat, a friend of Luis and Tuesday. Today we have with us friends from near and far, real-time and virtual, with so many different and beautiful friendships. We're here today because of the many ways we're inspired by Luis and Tuesday. Just think for a moment about how Luis faced his day-to-day challenges. Inspiring, not to mention his amazing accomplishments, contributions, and ambitions, and he faced them with love and humor, grace, and yes, sometimes frustration and anger. Luis is an American hero, and he will continue to inspire, whether he is near or far, to model the way for me and to model the way for each of you. It is an honor and a privilege to call Luis and Tuesday my colleagues and friends. But there would be no story of Luis and Tuesday without Lou Picard, so it is my privilege to introduce you to my colleague and friend, Lou Picard, co-founder of ECAD, Educating Canines to Assist with Disabilities, and Director of Canine Education and Programs. Lou?
Thank you. I'm here today with my family to celebrate the life of Luis Carlos Montalvan, a man that lived his life as a warrior. What I learned from Luis and many of the veterans that I worked with is that they're all warriors. It's in their DNA. When I met Luis, it was in a high-rise office building in Manhattan, just outside Grand Central Station. It was early spring. When he introduced himself to me, it was as retired Captain Luis Carlos Montalvan. I kind of smirked for a minute, thinking, I hope this man has a business card. Luis was a man on a mission. He had gotten his orders, and he was literally just gathering the resources to get the job done. Me, I was his information. When, where could he get a service dog? Tuesday, that was the resource that would give him his independence back. His mission was easy: get my independence, gather information, and proceed. That was Luis. The whole entire meeting lasted about 45 minutes, and that included the physical part of me watching him walk back and forth, seeing that he couldn't bend very well, and him telling me what commands that the dog would need to do to help him. He was in total control of that meeting. I was the note taker. I knew he had done his homework, and it wasn't if I would give him a dog, it was literally when he would get his dog. The only reason I knew that Luis was struggling that day was because his eyes shifted back and forth, and he would rub his forehead from time to time, like searching for the next word to say. Otherwise, you would never know it. We spoke a few times while I was finishing up the training, but I didn't see him again until the fall of 2008, when he and three other veterans struggling with the scars of war entered my team training. This would be my first of many veteran-only team trainings, and I learned a lot from them. I knew these veterans were here for one reason and one reason only: to regain the parts of confidence, motivation, trust, and security the war had damaged for them. They wanted more knowledge from me, they wanted me to take them more places, and they wanted to challenge the dog's skills. Louise led them, and they pushed me. What they taught me in that team training, I was able to use with ECAD and make it better. Our follow-up care is now more structured, and thanks to Luis Carlos Montalvan, we have after-action reports. We have SOPs, and we use them. Luis had 8 wonderful years with Tuesday, and what they accomplished was so much. But the early years were tough on Luis. Access rights to service dogs was not that common at that place in that time. Most of the people that had service dogs, you could see they were physically disabled. You knew why they needed a service dog. That was not true for Luis. He was challenged all the time. He was challenged in coffee shops, boarding trains, or registering at a hotel. But it's McDonald's that got Luis set on fire. He called me a few minutes after the episode, and I could tell his voice was shook. But he was so determined. When I said to him, "Luis, let it go," he said, "No, I've been wrong. I need to have it fixed." That was the warrior in Luis. I could imagine him being that kid in school who stuck up when you were being bullied. Even if he was being bullied, he would stick up for you. That was who Luis was. Luis wrote 3 books in those 8 years, 1 adult and 2 children. I had not seen Luis for about 2.5 years when we met up and we did a book reading 3 months after his right leg was amputated. He was different. He was joking around. He seemed so easy, relaxed about things where otherwise would have upset him. The sound system that day wasn't working. And when I was kind of dreading telling him, and when I finally did, he just laughed. And he said, "Well, pull up the chairs and I'll talk a little louder." I was like, "Okay, thank you, yes, yes." We spoke about that after the event was over. I asked him, "What happened? Where are you, Luis? Who are you?" He said to me, "I think writing the kids' books has really got me in touch with the kid inside of me. I really like this Luis." I had seen Luis the warrior, and I was so fortunate that day to see Luis, which I felt was a Luis before PTSD. That was who I was seeing that day. Luis was part of Tuesday. Tuesday was part of Luis. That was obvious to all that saw them or ever read his books. The awareness, education, relief that he gave people with his books was amazing, so far-reaching. For the loved ones who live with the people with PTSD, it gave us insight, helped us to understand. For the people living with PTSD, you all knew that somebody out there knew what you were going through. It amazes me to think back and realize how far and how much Luis Carlos Montalvan accomplished in those 8 short years. In 2007, Luis was struggling with crowds. He was self-medicating to sleep and to stay calm. But with Tuesday, he pushed forward. He became a graduate of Columbia University. He was a published journalist and author of a New York's bestseller. And for 5 years, he traveled the country speaking to small and large groups of people. He got our government moving forward for veterans to get service dogs. And I'm sure he did so many other things that we don't even know about. I'm here today to celebrate the life of Luis Carlos Montalvan, a life he shared with all of us. Luis, you did great things. I will miss you, but I stand here today and promise to continue what you started. With Tuesday by my side, we will educate on the benefits and advocate for service dogs and the rights for all veterans and all people with disabilities to use them. Luis had a saying. He used to like to dare people. "I dare you to do this. I dare you to call your congressman. I dare you to organize that." Well, I stand here today and dare you, all of you people here today with me, the people on YouTube, I dare you to continue what Luis started. Thank you.
Thanks, Lou. Amy, would you like to join us now? I'd like to introduce you to Amy Gilbert, the mother of former U.S. Army Special Services Cole Vickery.
Thank you. I'm not going to break the crying tradition now. I promise I'm not going to. Today's kind of bittersweet for me. For me, this is the finale for Luis. And I'm here with all these people who inspired him to be the man he is and whose lives he's touched. And to me, that is so incredible. Oh. So when I was thinking about how do I write the speech for today, it was more of it has to be impactful, it needs to be powerful, it needs to be perfect for Luis, right? Perfect. Most of all, I wanted him to be proud. So as I started going through years of correspondence looking for those perfect words, it wasn't in the text or the emails that I found the answers. It was more in his closings. He started out with the first response to me being just signed Luis and Tuesday. Okay, it's pretty formal. I can do that. Then a few days it was blessings and regards, Luis and Tuesday. It was a few short months, and it was, we heart you, Cole, and your family. Luis and Tuesday. They were always signed with love from that point on. Sorry, kind of got a little blurry here. At that time, he let my son and my family completely into his heart. He was completely unwavering. He was there for us the entire time. Didn't matter if we just needed to talk or if we just needed him to do something, or actually, more so, give me direction on what to do. I'm not sure he actually knew how he impacted my life. I wanted to save that conversation for actually around this time when they released the Tuesday's Promise. We were going to discuss it in person, of how he actually impacted me. He saved my son. My son is now diagnosed, medically discharged, and now has a proper VA rating. We won, Luis. We won. It only took me 3 minutes earlier. It really did. Everybody in my life knows how he's helped my son, but they don't know what he's done for me. Taught me the importance of documentation, journaling, and writing. Taught me how many edits it takes to get the perfect letter to send to somebody. 27? 27. I wanted to send it out in a hurry in a week. A month later, 27, it's Luis perfect. Helped me see, while I'm dyslexic and struggled with reading and writing, that I could write that letter and I can have that voice that prompts response. He gave me courage to take on the most powerful institution in the United States, the United States Army, and we won. He gave me the confidence, and he developed a desire in me to work with the veterans and showed me what they're feeling, what they're going through. It was Luis and Tuesday that created my love, passion, and drive to take every single chance I can to educate the community on veterans, invisible wounds, and service dogs. And I take my son's service dog, Silas, to the grocery store to get a gallon of milk. I'm back in an hour, because I'll stop and talk to every person that wants to answer, or that wants me to answer a question. I don't want Luis's death to be the ending of his message. In fact, I believe this is actually the strongest message he's given us. Last night I was listening to some of his speeches he gave at the U.S. Davis Mind Institute in 2012. He said, 18 veterans a day commit suicide. It's heart-wrenching. And thousands more attempt it a month. We hear almost nothing about the war that's going on here, almost nothing. If they really care, if they really are leaders, they would do things differently. If we are not taking care of those in harm's way, do you think that they're taking care of Jane Smith in Friend, Iowa? There are more people with invisible wounds and disabilities than there are with visible wounds and disabilities. And yet again, really are not spoken of. We have any chance to win the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, whatever winning might be, we better win the war here first. I'm happy and to be honored to be in this room with everybody who knew Luis. And it's this celebration of his life and the continuing of spreading the message through organizations like ECAD and through PACE that we can actually assist him in winning the war that he's so heroically fought.
Thanks, Amy. Diane, would you like to join us now? I'd like to introduce you to Diane Bonita and Cooper.
I need him up here for a hug. Hi, thank you, Lou, Joanne, and staff for inviting me to speak today. I'm Diane Bonita, here with my husband, Lou, and our therapy dog, Cooper, or as like Luis affectionately referred to us, the Bonita Pack. We came to know and love Luis on Tuesday through their memoir, like many others, Until Tuesday. You see, I had gotten Cooper, he was a puppy, and I was searching the internet for books on Goldens, when up popped Tuesday's beautiful face. I was immediately drawn to Until Tuesday. My heart was greatly touched by their love story, and I did something I had never done before. With all the books that I have ever read, I wrote to the author. I expressed to Luis just how beautiful his story meant to me. I wanted to thank him for writing a most heartwarming, courageous recap of his service to our country and the love and salvation found between him and his buddy Tuesday. Yeah, go say hello. Go ahead. In less than 2 hours, Luis responded graciously to me with a caring and thoughtful email, and our friendship began. I came to know and love Luis for who he was, and he became my treasured friend who encouraged me, inspired me. And with that inspiration, Cooper and I set out to become certified as a therapy dog team with the hope of bringing comfort to others. Luis responded joyfully to my emails and encouraged me to keep him updated on our progress. It was because of Luis's influence and support that Cooper and I have come to love what we do. My husband and I, along with our children and our grandchildren, attended many of Luis's and Tuesday's events throughout the tri-state area. He greeted us always with that big, bright, beautiful smile of his and his warm embrace, and all those big hugs, wraparound hugs that Luis would give us, making us feel so very special. Luis delighted in meeting our granddaughters and was always most sincere, kind, and loving in answering their many questions and they had some pretty interesting questions. Oh, the joy in Luis's eyes when he was around young children. He was at his best. He loved those kids. Lou and I shared dinners with Luis on Tuesday, meeting after his events and sharing good talk, with Tuesday lying quietly under our table. Our friendship grew, and I was more than happy to assist Luis in any way I could, with book reviews, nominations for special awards, donations, and supporting them at their many events. I reread Until Tuesday 3 times, and just recently finished listening to his audio, absorbing more and more each time about this dynamic duo. Then he trusted his heart with us. We were honored to provide a loving home for his boy while Luis was finishing his stay in Australia. We were delighted to share in his homecoming with Tuesday. And it is because of the bond we established with Luis, because of his daily encouragement to be the change, that Cooper and I work together as a therapy dog team with the Hudson Valley Paws for a Cause organization. We do it all with the inspiration and encouragement and love we receive from our beloved Luis. And thank you to ECAD and Lou for sharing Tuesday with us, so that we may continue with Luis's legacy. We proudly travel together to take part in therapy dog events at schools for children with special needs, bringing furry hugs, colleges for exam de-stressing, fundraising for service dogs, nursing homes and rehab centers to bring comfort, and we understand we do lower their blood pressure. West Point Elementary School's READ program, where students who are having difficulty with reading skills love reading to Cooper and Tuesday, who are non-judgmental and listen quietly and intently with a paw on the reader's book or on their big, beautiful golden heads on their lap, giving encouragement. Military cadet blood drives to calm those brave men and women who, believe it or not, are quite nervous about giving blood. And we go Tuesday, Cooper and I go to elementary school classrooms and scout meetings to discuss service dogs and therapy dogs, the differences between them, and also to read together. Tuesday tucks me in and Tuesday takes me there. And the most wonderful events that we do are at veterans' hospitals to give a veteran a hug, which Luis always encouraged us to do. You see a veteran, you give him a hug. Not a day goes by that I don't think of Luis and how he motivated and encouraged me to join him in advocating for all those suffering with visible and invisible disabilities and the continuing need for service dogs. I am honored to have known such a thought-provoking, intelligent, loving, and lovable gentleman, and blessed to have his trust in me. He will live forever on in my heart. Luis's legacy has brought so many beautiful people together that I am blessed to call my friends. Now his angel wings wrap around our hearts in friendship as we continue on. Thank you for coming into my life, Luis, and for the opportunity to make a difference in someone else's. I pray Tuesday Cooper and I will make you proud in soldiering on with your legacy, because your loving spirit is with me every day to make a difference. And may your bright smile shine down upon us and guide us to be the change. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane. To say that this is easy for anybody would be a myth, right? So appreciate everybody being able to talk today. Next, I'd like to invite my son, John Singleton, to come as a friend of Luis and Tuesday and a senior graduating from Xaverian High School.
At Xaverian High School, from where I will be graduating soon, we all got the chance to read Until Tuesday by Captain Luis Carlos Montalvan. There was over 1,000 of us that read his book, and we all connected on the same emotional level while reading. I was one Xaverian student who actually got the chance to meet, know, and bond with Luis and Tuesday. Luis and Tuesday were planning on coming to Xaverian in the spring and to stay with my family, come to my lacrosse games, and to be a big part of our Xaverian family. It was a true highlight of some of our conversations and time spent together. From walking and giving treats to Tuesday, to texting and spending time in person with Luis, I knew that he was my closest friend because we related so much. We both come from religious backgrounds, are athletes, and have PTSD. It made me the happiest person in the world to know that he understood me. He really got me, and we both knew this was a friendship that would last a lifetime. Luis never looked at me as a little kid. He looked at me as someone who was a lot like him, just years younger. He's an important person in my life, and he led the way for me. He is a role model in ways I can't even begin to express. To be honest, my heart feels empty, and I feel sadness with the loss of Luis. I remember whenever one of us shared a story of an emotional time, it was like the other felt the exact same emotional sadness and suffering. And Tuesday would always come and nudge his head against one of us to make us feel happy. There are many things Luis told me. 2 of them are on my whiteboard in my room, and I live by these things every day. Luis said, "It's not about how big or small you are, but it's about who you are as an individual and how you make others happy that leads to true happiness. And moments of quiet friendship are what make everyone's life, grand." Thanks, Luis, for our moments of quiet friendship. I will never forget what Luis taught me, and even though I am hurt and sad to have lost a huge part of my life, I am happy that I got the opportunity to meet, know, bond, and have such a great friend. I know Tuesday will never forget you, Luis, the man and dog who did the impossible and changed the lives of so many. I love you, Luis, and I know you are watching over me. I will hold you in my heart and my thoughts always, and I continue to make you proud in everything I do. Thank you.
So I'd like to ask my colleague, Lucille Farrar, to come and join me, and we want to share a little of our story with you. So I'm going to begin. Maybe like you, I was totally unprepared for how Luis and Tuesday would inspire me. I tell people that this work found me. After I met Luis and Tuesday, and I shared with my colleague and friend Lucille why we needed to educate health professions students to be more culturally competent in their care of people with visible and invisible disabilities who are partnered with service dogs or who can benefit from the many different animal-assisted therapies. She agreed. And Luis told Lou that I'd be calling. And indeed, when I called, she said, "Yeah, he told me you were going to call." I had no idea what all of that was going to mean. Then I talked to Dean Feldman, and I prefaced my request to revise a grant that she and I were directing to make this our focus. And I prefaced it by saying to her, "You might think this sounds a little crazy." And she said, "No, it's innovative and important, go for it." And so that's where we find ourselves today, and the rest of this is history. We had a soft launch in the fall of 2016 with our nurse practitioner students, and then our official launch in April with all of the students in our College of Health Professions. Indeed, Luis was supposed to have been with us for that launch, and actually, When I saw him right before Thanksgiving, I actually gave him a hard time because he said, although I said we should keep everything confidential, all of our work is done now and we're ready to go. So I think when I come in April, we should go public. And I said, are you kidding me? Because you're coming, we get to go public with this? But indeed, we were starting to work on the press releases. So this past month has been really tough for us because we did this launch without part of our team. So at this point, we have educated over close to 500 students. In the fall, we had a group of nurse practitioner students. In the spring, nursing students, nurse practitioner students, physician assistant students, and speech and communication students came together. Our nurse practitioner students actually just finished reading until Tuesday and reflecting on the book and on what that meant to them. And so we took all of their papers and we put them into this program called a Wordle. And we want to share with you what popped out in terms of the strength of the words that they used. So what we didn't say, and what everybody's been talking about today, is the inspiration that we've each felt from Luis and Tuesday, and how that was a call to action for us. And very much today, and us coming together, is our opportunity to be talking about the way forward for each of us and how we continue on with this work that we've engaged in some way. So this is the Wordle, and I think it's really interesting, the strength of the words that came out of the students' papers, and how Luis and Tuesday's names are just entangled in that way. So I'm going to turn this over to my colleague, Lucille Ferrara, and she's going to share a little bit more about the work with our students.
We'd like to share with you some of the quotes from our students' reflections that illuminate how they were inspired and called to action through reading and thinking deeply on until Tuesday. Louis Montalvan gave me a wonderful gift. His biography still sits with me. Feelings of sadness, anger, hope, and inspiration all pass through at different points while reading. But above all, I'm reminded of why I became a nurse. I chose this profession to help people. Reading Luis's words, I am reminded of the hands I've held, the tears I have wiped away, the incredible people I have met, and the resiliency I have witnessed. I know that I've touched the many lives, but just as Tuesday changed Luis's life, I am most grateful to my patients who have changed mine. Another student. I've been living in New York City for nearly a decade. I've walked many street blocks, taken countless subway rides, and have seen many things. I've passed by many people and met quite a few as well. Over the past few weeks, I find myself wondering, what about all the things I have not seen? Louis Montalvan has reminded me that we make assumptions and label others based on what we experience and how we experience it. Another student. As I, a nurse, Army veteran, and soon-to-be FMP, will always do everything I can to educate and advocate for service animals, to teach others the importance of the contribution these marvelous creatures are providing. I have seen the difference they make, not only to the person that they are serving, but if you look at it, they are contributing to society. They are allowing a disabled person to contribute to their families, community, and society. They are allowing a once broken person the happiness to feel vital, independent, and free. They are allowing someone the opportunity to thrive in an environment that may not have been possible before. Another student. Montalvan's journey provides us as future practitioners with the knowledge necessary to warrant what we recognize long-term effects of PTSD and simultaneously spread the awareness of the disability. It also shows us how service dogs provide our patients with physical support as well as with an opportunity to escape their disturbing thoughts, a sense of love, and ultimately a reason to stay alive. And final student. This book has changed my mindset. While pharmacological interventions will always be available for me to use, my patients will benefit from my newly discovered, broader approach to thinking about treating people with disabilities and other disorders. Most importantly, next time I develop a plan of care for a patient, I will not only think about pharmaceutical treatments, but I will think of more holistic approaches. I think so.
Okay. So we also have to show you a rough cut interview from our master classes with two of our students, and I think it's very interesting to hear them. And so I warn you ahead of time, this has not been edited, but it's very, very sweet. This is Lauren and Danielle. They both have graduated. They are both family nurse practitioners now.
I think healthcare professionals are not aware that this is an option. It's not even that we forget.
Okay, so I want you to start again, but this time I want you to take my question and kind of put it into your
Okay.
answer. So when, just say, I think, service dogs being in,
Okay.
are now aware of service dogs, okay? And anytime.
I think having a program that teaches healthcare professionals about service dogs is really important because most of us aren't aware that this is an option. And so we are trying to find any intervention possible to help a patient, and we forget that the simplest of interventions, like having an animal, can be very helpful.
Lauren, you have a story that you wanted to share?
Yes, I was just sharing with Danielle, when I was an undergrad, our team used to go to this children's hospital, and there was this nonverbal patient, I'll never forget this, and she hadn't talked in, I want to say, years, and her parents were there. They would come every day, and they brought a golden retriever. There's this new program they were piloting at the hospital, and she laughed for the first time, and that was the first time that her parents had ever heard any sound come out of her mouth. And it was just, the entire room was in tears, and from that day, it was literally just the dog licking her face, and it was very nice, and I can see firsthand how much of a difference they can make.
And when Lou was talking, she was talking about what happens when people get excited about, animals. You want to talk about that?
Lou was explaining to us that when a human being looks in a dog's eyes, that there is a production of oxytocin in the bloodstream, which is responsible for, it's a hormone responsible for bonding, and it often brightens our mood. And I noticed immediately when Lou brought that up to us that happens to me, and I'm sure it happens to anybody who looks into the eyes of a dog. And I am a nurse on a mother-baby unit, so I see that a lot. I see mothers and their babies bonding, and oxytocin is the hormone responsible in doing so. And I just think if that relationship is so strong, we can make patients have just as strong of relationships with their animals.
When did you guys find out about that this was going to be happening here at Pace? Service dogs coming in and an opportunity to work with service. How long ago did you find out about that?
We found out about a month ago, I would say, maybe some sooner than others. But I didn't realize, I guess I didn't put much thought into it, but I didn't realize how informative this program would actually be.
And what do you think now?
I mean, it's great to watch Lou and have her show us the commands and how she teaches the dogs and how the people respond once they get the dogs. It's just, the whole thing is phenomenal.
It was amazing to have actual dogs here. I knew when we were watching a video mid-semester that they were about service dogs, that the program was trying to emphasize the importance of service dogs, but I didn't know that we would have an opportunity to actually see service dogs in action. And then seeing them and interacting with them makes them so amazing.
How do you feel about being able to be in a university that's trying to be groundbreaking with this type of program?
I mean, to me, to be a part of a university that's interested in stepping out of the box and being creative. I mean, I was just asking my professor, how'd you even think of this? I feel like a lot of professors get caught up in just the daily, we have to teach this chapter and do this. But to know that we have professors that are thinking the next step and taking the next level is just, I feel honored to be a part of something like this.
Just another example of Luis's work. These are our students when we did the master class in April at the New York City campus. Standing in the background is Phil Bauer, who is also an ECAD graduate with his service dog, Champ, his second service dog, and he graciously joined us and filled in for Luis. And so our students, what's interesting to us about this photo is that no one said, let's take a picture. The students all said to the photographer, can we all take a picture? And nobody had to put them, they just assembled. It was just an amazing thing. Usually it's like, we'd like to get some photos. Can you please come over here? And everybody gives you a hard time. This just happened spontaneously. So it was just a lovely thing. I'd like to now invite Luis's co-author, Ellis Hennigan, to join us so that he can bring some comments. I'm going to leave Tuesday up to give you a little competition. Just to give you a little competition.
Yeah, I will excuse folks if they don't look at me and just keep staring at Tuesday. Tuesday and I mean, Luis and I had that issue because everywhere we went, people just wanted to meet Tuesday. It was a little deflating at first. Luis always said, he's a whole lot cuter than I am. I want to start by apologizing, I guess. I spent much of the last year in the company of Tuesday and Luis. And I'm a smart guy. I'm experienced at dealing with people who have achieved a lot of things. I've been a reporter and a television commentator and a book writer for a long time, and I'm supposed to be a savvy observer of the human condition and somebody who can take life and figure out how to form it into stories that people can relate to. That's what I do. I was raised in a big, loud Irish Catholic family in New Orleans where we sat around the dinner table and told stories to each other and tried to kind of outmaneuver each other and make people laugh, and there was a lot of drinking in the house, and that's what I do. And so I am supposed to be this keen observer of human nature. And yet I spent all this time working, talking, exploring intimate, revealing topics with Luis, and like many of us in the room, I think, have spent the last 5 months asking myself, what did I miss? What didn't I see? What didn't I pick up on? What was said that went past me? And I stand up here right now wishing more than anything in the world that I had an answer to that question for you, and I don't. I don't. I know that Luis was a guy who had challenges in his life, as all of us do, but did the one thing that any of us can do, which was to look inside himself, find the assistance that he needed, both the human and the canine kind, and well up the willpower and the drive to be the best person he could possibly be. And it's so great hearing stories like Amy's and Robin's, and I mean, everyone's in the room. Karen, who I'm sitting with over there. So many of you have these stories about Luis and Tuesday and what they were able to achieve together. And none of us, I don't think, has the impression that it was all easy for these guys, that they got through this difficult period in their lives and then they just skated along easily. There was struggle every step of the way. But the triumph and the inspiration, I think, comes from overcoming those challenges. And for a journey of 8 years, what these two together were able to accomplish is truly awe-inspiring. When Luis and I and Tuesday were put together, we didn't know each other. I mean, I knew who he was. I knew he'd written this great book that I had read. And I knew that there had been a lot of interest in him writing another book. That people said, well, that was great. I mean, we love learning how you got to know Tuesday and how you with his love and support, you were able to pull yourself back from the darkness and go on this path of leading a productive life and of helping others, especially helping others. And people wanted to hear about that. And Luis wanted to tell that story, and he'd been waiting a long time till the point that he felt like he had enough material, that he'd done enough. Frankly, he probably could have written it after about a year, but he wanted to make sure he had done amazing stuff until he was ready, mentally ready, psychologically ready, intellectually ready to dive back into his own being and with the help of someone like me, pull that out of himself. And you all can imagine that's a wrenching process. When we first met, he told me the hardest thing he'd ever done was not war. The hardest thing he'd ever done was writing a book about all of that, right? Which is strange to me, right? Because I do nothing but write books. They're not that hard to do. But something about telling that and pulling that out of him had been hugely, hugely difficult, but he was committed to doing it. And so we got together and we started talking. And we began talking about what should this book be? And it quickly became apparent that the idea really was Luis and Tuesday, who had come out of this difficult place, then wandering around America, which is literally the case, and finding people in need and bringing their own special skills to helping those people as nobody else could. It's wonderful that quite a selection of those people are sitting right in this room with us today. And so Luis and I, who were about the same age, we grew up on the same bad television. And I said, oh, you mean like Kung Fu with a dog? Now that tells me that you're at least in your 40s or your 50s if you could laugh at that joke. But for the younger ones, there was a show on television starring David Carradine of this guy who kind of wandered around America finding people who were suffering and helping them. And that was Luis and Tuesday. And then after we got started, we got rolling on it. Then he said to me, you know, I've been thinking about this for a long time, but I think I'm going to have my leg amputated. I'm like, holy shit, no, don't do that. I said, you don't have to do that just to sell books. He was a very dedicated co-author, I decided. He was like, no, it's nothing like that. I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I'm dealing with issues of pain and mobility. And he said, and I want to be able to walk and to run with Tuesday again. And I could understand that, because knowing him, there was nothing in him that would stop him from doing that. And he went through this difficult process. We cataloged it. We wrote about it. It's all described in this book. The things that he was able to do to help other people, the recognition that what he really needed to do just as much was help himself. And Tuesday was so integral to both of those things. And spreading that joy and that energy and that hopefulness and that brilliance, that ability to focus on something, to make it happen, and to not give up until it was done. That was Luis, and that was Tuesday. And when you put them together, you had to multiply it by 10 to know how effective they were. We had originally planned to call the book Since Tuesday. Right? And those of you who follow us, even the early presentation of the book on Amazon said since Tuesday. You know, it was until Tuesday and then since Tuesday. And then Luis said, shortly as we were finishing, as we were getting close to done, he said, maybe we should come up with a different title. And again, I'm like, what do you mean you changed the title? That's a great title. And so, I don't want people to think that this is like the book of me, like after Tuesday. Like, since I, didn't have Tuesday. He said, no, it's not like that. He said, so we came up with this idea of Tuesday's promise. And that the hopefulness that Tuesday brought, the hopefulness that all these other dogs are bringing to other people, the hopefulness that with your efforts through the medical profession and the caring people in the world can spread the miracles of these amazing dogs far and wide, can do things that we don't even realize they can do yet. Right? It used to be people thought, well, yeah, these dogs might be able to help lead a blind person, and that's very important, but it turns out they can do all this other stuff. Right? Working with kids, Lou, with autism, right? and helping people, older folks, and kids who are having adjustment problems, and people who have both mental and neurological issues, and all this stuff. And all of you, I hope, will join as we try to find other ways that we can use these amazing and these beautifully trained animals, who are almost always better, by the way, better behaved than the people in the room, to achieve miracles that we're not able to achieve already. That, to me, is the lasting legacy of what Luis leaves behind, and what Tuesday and those who love both of them are carrying on. I would urge you to check out this book. If you liked Until Tuesday, I swear to you, you are going to connect in deep and meaningful ways with Tuesday's Promise. It shows not just the barriers that these two great creatures overcame, but what they were able to achieve once they were out there in the world at the top of their game. It's amazing, absolutely amazing, what a human being and a dog can achieve when the animal is beautifully trained, when the person is driven and focused and has a goal, and when the two of them come together with love and mutual support and an ability to look out into the world and ask one of the most important questions of all, which is, how can I be helpful? What can I do next? That's who these two people are, and it's up to us to carry on. Thank you all, and God bless you.
Thanks, Ellis. I have read the book. I was able to get an advanced copy, and I have to tell you that it really is a wonderful story. It is Luis's story. It is his voice at its best, and our students will be reading it in the fall semester and doing another reflection on this part of their journey, and also the journey that our students are on in learning more about service animals, therapy animals, PTSD, and visible and invisible disabilities. I'd like to invite my son John again, who's presenting with Tuesday's slideshow for you. So John and Tuesday, come on up.
Thanks for being here with me to celebrate the life of my best friend, Luis. Luis and I inspired each other every day in our advocacy work. I'd like you to sit back and relax while I share some of our many adventures together. Thanks to everyone for the pictures you sent for my slideshow. After my slideshow, I want to show you my new short video and share my way forward.
Hi, my name is Tuesday. I'm an ECAD service dog. Many of you know me from the children's books Tuesday Tucks Me In and Tuesday Takes Me There. Or maybe you've read the New York Times bestseller about me. It's called Until Tuesday. Soon, a new book will be released called Tuesday's Promise. My parents and grandparents were all working dogs. I guess you could say I was bred for the job. My whole family has been. My mom, Radar, was 2 years old when she had me, and she went on to become a service dog for a 6-year-old girl. You go, Mom. I was raised and trained by a nonprofit called ECAD, Educated Canines Assisting with Disabilities. It's usually a 2-year process before an ECAD dog gets his or her vest as a full-blown service dog. During my first year, I spent several months at the New York Correctional Facilities. It's a program to help inmates give back to society. I learned basic obedience and some cool skills like tugging, how to heel, and how not to bark, even when I really, really wanted to. My second year was spent at ECAD's program to help at-risk youth overcome their struggles and learn about patience, responsibility, and control over themselves. Lou Picard and the kids did the teaching every day, and I loved it. It was fun because we had lots of adventures working in public. I still can't figure out why they called it work. I just had fun. They taught me how to turn lights on and off, to retrieve anything and everything. I mastered being polite in public, and my all-time favorite skills, interrupting bad dreams. It was my favorite because it meant I got to snuggle, another thing I love to do. In 2008, I was placed with a veteran with complex PTSD. That's post-traumatic stress disorder, for those of you who don't know. Balance issues, and he had chronic pain. His name was Captain Luis Carlos Montalvan. Now that's a name that commands a salute. I liked Luis, and we became best friends. Luis depended on me for a lot of things, and I depended on Luis to take care of me. Luis and I were inseparable. We traveled all over America meeting lots of people, talking about how rough it is to have PTSD, the benefits of having a service dog, and promoting our book. I was very happy, and so was Luis. Of course, it was not all fun. Luis had some tough moments, but I was there doing my job, keeping him grounded and helping him with balance and waking him from his nightmares. In the fall of 2016, Luis went to Australia for surgery, and I couldn't go. But I stayed with my ECAD family. Things didn't turn out right for Luis, and before I could get back to him, he passed away. Luis and I had 8 amazing years together, and I'm glad we were partners. I retired from being a service dog because I'm 10 years old, and I live with the ECAD founders Lou and Dale Picard. I still love working, so they keep me busy. I still visit hospitals and schools, and I've been to Washington, D.C. to meet senators, Philadelphia for a big gala party, and New York City to teach at Pace University. Luis was my #1 guy, and our book about our life together, Tuesday's Promise, is being released very soon. I helped Luis any way I could when we were together, and now, with ECAD's help, I'm continuing to serve in his memory. I'm advocating and educating the public about the benefits of service dogs, and all the while giving and receiving love wherever I travel. Like I said at the beginning, I was born to be a working dog, so that's what I want to do. Thanks to the Picards, they really understand that about me and are making it happen. Each Tuesday, you can read about my latest adventure on ECAD's Facebook page under the hashtag Tuesdays with Tuesday. Thanks very much.
So one of Luis and Tuesday's friends couldn't be with us today. And so we received a communication from Senator Al Franken's office, and I'm going to share that with you. Senator Al Franken wanted you to know that he admired Luis so much for his extraordinary bravery and for his dedication to improving the lives of our veterans. He said, "I was so inspired by meeting Luis and Tuesday that while I was waiting for my election to the Senate to be resolved in 2009, I spent a lot of time researching service dogs and the benefits they bring. And when I got into the Senate, the first piece of legislation I introduced, which was quickly passed into law, was a bill designed to increase the number of service dogs for veterans. Because of Luis, more veterans are now able to access service dogs. Luis was my friend. He was a good man who loved his country and wanted nothing more than to help ease the pain that so many of his fellow veterans experienced. Knowing that he's gone still makes me so sad, but I'm so proud that through his life's work, including his books like Tuesday's Promise, he will continue to change and save the lives of others. I'd like to invite Alyssa to join us, and after the song that she's going to sing, which will end the program, we would then invite you to join us outside for Tuesday's Dove release.
What does it look like in heaven? Is it peaceful? Is it free like they say? Does the sun shine bright forever? Has your fears and your pain gone away? 'Cause here on earth it feels like everything good is missing since you left. And here on earth everything's different. There's an emptiness. Oh, I hope you're dancing in the sky. I hope you're singing in the angels' choir. And I hope the angels know what they have. I'll bet it's so nice up in heaven since you arrived. And I hope you're dancing in the sky. I hope the angels you're singing in the choir. And I hope the angels know what they have. I'll bet it's so nice up in heaven since you arrived. Since you arrived.